Okay, wow. I mean, what a performance. That's pretty much as good as you could hope for coming off of Wednesday's game. Obviously, we're talking about today's match, the 3-0 win against Burnley, the first home game of the season, opening game week of the season. And, dude, I'm so excited about the way this played out. It was like pretty much as good as could have been imagined. Right off from the start, like the intensity, the pressing, like we saw that carried over from the PSG match. Within the first minute, we had already earned a corner because of it. That was super exciting to see. And then obviously getting the 3 goals was fantastic. The way that the 3 goals came, a lot of good stories within that as well. So we're going to go through and just kind of look at a couple things. I'm going to give you my thoughts and then we'll get out of here for the day. So yeah, first off, like I just want to say I'm so excited just like watching the team. At the very like base level, watching the team play is so much fun the way that they're playing right now. Because while I liked watching Ange's team, like there was always that little bit of fear in the back of my mind that like even if we're pushing we're scoring goals, we're probably going to give up another couple goals. So it's like you're kind of playing with fire the whole game. Whereas, and I know we're only 2 games in, one against PSG in basically a preseason, and then one against probably the worst team that's going to be in the Premier League this season and probably finish very bottom. So like little grain of salt there, but I feel so much more confident in Thomas Frank's structure and his ability to set the team up. So when you're watching them move forward and attack, I have that like, ooh, that little like jump, that little pulse in your chest. It's like, oh, something's happening. I was feeling that throughout the whole game. So next week I have Man City, so maybe that'll all go out the window next week. But as of now, very, very excited about what we're seeing out there on the pitch. So first goal, let's just get right into it. The pressing that we've talked about a couple times already is what leads to the goal. They turn it over near the in the final third and Burnley's final third. Kudus loses it for a moment, but then has the hustle and has the intensity to go win it back, and then drives toward the byline and just plays it across. I watched his interview after the match, and he's like, wasn't the best cross, but I was just trying to get into the box, basically. And it ended up actually working out perfectly because the space that he played it into was completely open, so it kind of just ended up taking a couple bounces, bounced up into Richy's path, and Richy just slams his shin against that thing, probably caught it on the foot. But a great finish from Richy. 2 absolutely stunning finishes from Richy today. But the first one, yeah, great finish. Love to see Richy scoring the opening goal of the season. Love to see Richy getting involved and really like, hopefully this is going to give him the confidence to drive on and like be a huge contributor this season and be the player that we kind of always had hoped he would become at some point. And it sounds like Thomas Frank is really, really bought into Richy, and he wants him to be here, and he thinks he's going to play a big part in the season. So fingers crossed. I hope that happens. I'm hoping it does. Richy's one of those players that as a person just seems like a fantastic dude. And so you want him to be playing and cheering for him every week on the pitch and not just, his funny memes on Twitter or the way that he conducts himself and stuff like that. Like you want to cheer him on the pitch as well. So hopefully he plays a big part this season. But those 2 linking up, Kudus, who was just, again, fantastic all game, got both of the assists, got 2 assists, didn't get, Pop got the 3rd for Brennan's goal, but Kudus, fantastic. If we let's switch over real quick so I don't get off track and just take a look at the lineup and the player ratings. I don't know why they're ghosts. I've tried to change my like dark mode, light mode settings and play with a whole bunch of stuff. It seems like it's just foot mob. Sorry. But yeah, Richy getting his 2 goals with a 9.1 rating today. Brennan, I thought an 8 is actually probably pretty generous for him. I didn't think he played very good. It was actually hilarious. I was literally writing down a note as he was running through on goal to score that 3rd goal. I was going to write down a note. I don't want to see Brennan ever again at left wing, and I think that still kind of remains. Like I don't think his skill set's suited towards left wing. He had a couple attempts earlier where he drove down the line, tried to cross it in with his left foot, kind of not really his skill set. And I think he's just so much more dangerous when he can drive down the line on the right. I think he just feels more comfortable. But anyways, so I thought that was funny that I was literally about ready to say, get him off the pitch, and he scores the third goal. By contrast, Bearvault with a 7.2, I think is ridiculous. I think he played way better than that. I think he was probably the second best midfielder out of him and Pop, because Pop, again, had a fantastic game with an 8.2 deserved, sure. Kudus with an 8.9, he was ridiculous. He was the player we've always been hoping to have at Tottenham for the last however many years. Like, it's been so long since we've had just a clever, tricky, skillful, like a true star at the winger position. Because I mean, Sonny was a star, but Sonny was like a wide forward. He was an attacker. He was a striker, playing out wide for the most part. Like, Kudus is a winger, a fantastic player. Love him. I'm so glad we have him in the team. I think 6.8 for Kuti's fair. He didn't have the best game. He was kind of all over the place at times. I know he had that fantastic ball that he played through the middle to Pop to set off the third goal, which he had a couple other attempts like that earlier in the game where he passed it directly, like the one right before the end of the second half, where he passes it directly to, I think was it Lyle Foster, probably. Like, literally, there's like two options either side of him, and he just passes it directly to the Burnley player right before half too, when it's 1-0, and you're like, okay, so I see how this is going to turn out. But anyways, yeah, Kuti with a 6.8. It wasn't his best game. Kuti's a weird one because I don't know if I'm ready to like give a firm opinion on this or not, but he almost seems like he plays better when he's not the one that has all the pressure of being the captain or being the sole leader, if that makes sense. I feel like he plays better when he can kind of be like an important piece in the puzzle. I don't know. I don't know if I fully formed that opinion, but that's kind of what I feel like watching him sometimes. But anyways, and then Vic with a great game, didn't have too much to do, so 8.3 is fair. I think Pedro and Spence had a great game as well, so 7.4 and 7.6 for them is probably not as good as I think. Honestly, I think Archie with a 7.0 is probably fair. He did not have a great first half. Didn't really seem super comfortable in the 6, and they were also marking him completely out of the game, and so he was never receiving the ball from Vic, really. So, I don't know. It took him a while to kind of grow into the game. Thomas Frank even said that in his press conference after the game, that he thought he was just trying to grow into the game and came on a lot stronger in the second half, which I think is fair. But anyways, I think great game altogether. The lads played fantastic. The second goal, let's talk about that for a second. Oh my gosh. Richy again coming up with a fantastic finish. I haven't watched his Brazil finish back yet, so I don't know if it is actually like a carbon copy, but it feels kind of like a carbon copy of that one that he had in the World Cup a couple years ago for Brazil. Those overhead kicks, he's just really, really good at. I don't know what it is, if it's, contorting his body that way, or if he feels comfortable just throwing up a leg there. But he's one of the best finishers at doing that in all the league. So, and just to I think even more, I was so happy to see that when he scored that goal, like everything kind of stopped and centered around Richy, and they all took it as like a huge moment of, way to go, Richy. We're glad you're back. You're scoring goals. Oh my God, what a fantastic finish. And there was also probably a feeling of this is what it feels like to be playing at or near the peak level of what all the players are probably feeling, what all we feel like you can achieve. You know what I mean? I think I'm glad that they took a moment there and the game ended up, ending in a win. So it wasn't overshadowed by a loss or anything like that. And that really felt like they're in the 60th minute, wow, this is big. This is something. This is a moment. And I know it's only the first game of the season, so hard to say that, a second goal in the first game of the season is going to spur you on to bigger and better things. But I do have some feeling that that's the case. But anyways, fantastic goal. And then, like I just touched on a little bit earlier with Brennan's goal, the third goal, fantastic ball in from Kuti, taking a risk and playing it 30 yards through the lines, and kind of a sloppy pass, but like just drilling it in and hoping it gets to the man. And I believe it's Pop that picks up. I know Pop's the one that drives through, plays a great through ball to Brennan. Brennan gets on the end of it, scores a nice finish across goal, and that makes it 3-0 in the 66th. That was like a fantastic 10 minutes of play right there. That was so much fun to watch. And we make some subs, bring on some players, and sure it out a lot more confidently than what we saw on Wednesday night against PSG, and ends up being a 3-0 win. So very, very happy for all of that. I just want to go back over and show a couple things real quick before we get out of here. Kind of the antithesis of the match against PSG. 68% of the possession today. We pretty much dominated the ball. 2.3 expected goals, which is kind of interesting because we had 16 shots, only 6 on target, and the 2 Richy goals had to have been super low XG. So that means that, overall we were creating some really good chances. So that's really positive to see. Dom had a couple good chances when he came in. He had that kind of dribble through the box turn, and it just went right wide of the post a couple minutes after he came on. So good to see that we're creating some really good chances. Only 1.1 expected goal for Burnley in the game. One thing I wanted to point out as far as performance and distance covered, I saw on Gus's Twitter. Apparently, Pop had 6.8 miles run throughout the game. Just ridiculous, man. Pop might be. I've seen some people say it already that he might be contender for player of the season in Frank's system. And so far from what we've seen, that might be a pretty good shout. That might end up being the case because he's looked fantastic so far this season. So I'm hoping that continues. I'm hoping he continues to have a fantastic season. Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, I wanted to point out, contrary to the PSG game where we only had like 135 passes, I think 512 passes. We had a lot more of the ball. We were playing it around, and I don't want to say that we were playing conservative like with the ball and like we were holding on to it or anything. Like it wasn't anything like a tiki-taka performance or anything like that. But we did play a lot better with the ball, and we continued to see what I think Frank is really good at, and what I think this team can be suited toward and be really good at is that transition game. I think the transition game with the personnel that we have, I think it's going to be really, really big. And like on top of that, I don't know how the Savinho deal is going to go on, so I'm not going to count him into the plans at all. But I'm feeling really confident that the EZE deal is going to get through. So think about a situation where you have, let's say you have Wilson on the left, or Tell, or whoever you want to put there, Richy or Dom in the middle, Kudus definitely on the right, and you got EZE in the middle, feeding them balls, driving forward. Like, oh my gosh, that's just. It's almost like a wet dream, dude. It's fantastic. I'm so excited for what that could potentially be, and hopefully that deal gets across the line. Right now, before recording, I'm recording a couple hours or about an hour or so after the game, and the reporting right now is that the deal could be finished as soon as the end of the weekend because Tottenham and EZE have already agreed on terms, so now they're just trying to finalize the fee. So that's fantastic. That's great news. Hopefully that gets across the line, and then we can look forward to the next game next week at the Etihad, and hopefully get a good performance. And we'll hopefully have EZE for that one to be able to spurs on with a little bit of creativity and thrust. So, anyways, fantastic game, fantastic day. Just a good day to celebrate the beginning of the season, celebrate being a Spurs fan, celebrate what this team could potentially be and some of the players within the squad. So very happy to see this one. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time. Peace.